الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله، فإن الله تعالى مع المتقين. وبعد. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, over 1,400 years ago, sent a man that started a revolution. And it was not a revolution that simply had its feet on the ground, but it was in fact a revolution that took place prior to the ground in the minds and the hearts. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed to the last and final messenger and prophet, the greatest of creation, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, read, recite in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your Lord. And what's the significance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He first sent us, i.e. the first sign, الذي خلق, the one who created. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in that verse is calling mankind to recite, to become attached to reciting of the Quran, reading and learning, and using the faculty of intellect that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with. That which differentiates us from beast, that which makes man man, his capacity to understand, to learn, to articulate, to comprehend. Without that capacity, man becomes beast. And we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls to our intellectual capacity throughout the Quran. Some examples. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, قُلْ هَلْ يَسْتَوِي الَّذِينَ يَعْلَمُونَ وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ إِنَّمَا يَتَذَكَّرُ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. Do those who know and those who don't know stand on the same plane? Can we say those who have knowledge and those who have understanding are the same as those who do not have knowledge and do not have understanding? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, إِنَّمَا يَتَذَكَّرُ أُولُو الْأَلْبَابِ. Those who are reminded and receive reminder are those who use their lub, those who use their faculty of comprehension. Ulul albab. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when calling us to reflect and to contemplate over that which turns us to Him, He says, إِنَّ فِي خَلْقِ السَّمَوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ وَاخْتِلَافِ اللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ, and goes on, subhanahu, to mention signs in the heavens, the earth, the interchanging of the day and the night, the boats that travel over the seas, and so on and so forth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions signs. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala concludes this verse with what? لَآيَاتٍ لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ. These things are signs for who? For those who use their capacity, their ability to comprehend, i.e. those who use their intelligence. لِقَوْمٍ يَعْقِلُونَ. For a people that have a use of their aql, their capacity and faculty of understanding, of comprehending, of seeing. The architect, when looking at a pillar, does not look at the pillar in the same way that the layperson looks at the pillar. The architect sees it for something else. The architect sees its construction. The architect sees the process, and so on and so forth, which requires the faculty of intelligence. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when speaking to the angels, and informing the angels of the virtue of man, and why the Son of Man, according to some of the Mufassirun, will have a higher station than the angels, He says, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا ثُمَّ عَرَضَهُمْ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught Adam alayhi salam the names of all things. Or He gave Adam alayhi salam the capacity, the ability to name all things. And this was not something given to the malaika, the angels. The angels worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night without stopping. The angels follow the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala day and night without refusing. The angels do not sin. They are in a constant state of worship and agreement with that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requests and commands of them. Why is man significant and given significance over the angels? وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught man how to name, or taught man the names of things, which requires what? Intelligence. And we find that this virtue, the virtue of knowledge, the virtue of intelligence, the virtue of intellectualization, is mentioned not only in the Quran, but likewise in the traditions of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ, what does he say? A hadith which I am sure many of us have heard multiple times. مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. Whomever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for, He gives him what? Fiqh of deen. And what does fiqh mean? Fiqh has become known as understanding the laws of Islam. But fiqh in Arabic means understanding, to actually comprehend and understand something. The Prophet ﷺ said a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants good for someone is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives this person comprehension of the deen. How do you comprehend something? By using your intelligence, by using your mind, by using your capacity to learn and understand. The Prophet ﷺ likewise, he said, فَضْلُ الْعَالِمِ عَلَى الْعَابِدِ كَفَضْلِي عَلَيْكُمْ. The Prophet ﷺ, when speaking to the Sahaba, addressing the Sahaba, he said, the virtue of the alim, the knower, over the abid, the one who worships the days and the nights of his life for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who fasts the days and prays the nights. The virtue of the alim is more significant than the virtue of the abid. And he gives an example. When speaking to the Sahaba, he says, like my virtue over yours, like the virtue of the Prophet ﷺ in comparison to the virtue of the Sahaba. There is no comparison. And he says in a variation of the same hadith, like the brightest moon on its brightest night in comparison to the rest of the stars. The best of our ummah are seen to be the best of our ummah for what reason? The use of their minds to understand, to comprehend, and then to apply. And the Prophet ﷺ, he gave a hadith which we're going to speak about shortly, inshaAllah, because there is significance behind this hadith. The purpose of learning, the purpose of knowledge, the purpose of education. He said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent to complete good character. Good character. That was the mission of the Prophet ﷺ. خُلُقٌ مَعَ الْخَالِقِ وَخُلُقٌ مَعَ الْمَخْلُوقِ. To have good character with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the creator, and good character with the creation. In order to have good character, you have to understand what good character is. You have to have a framework which allows you to understand what good conduct is in accordance to the circumstance, the time, and that which is required of you, a person, myself, and so on and so forth. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده وصلوات ربي وسلامه على أشرف الأنبياء ومن تبعه وبعد. A famous philosopher of education, when speaking about the tradition of the West in the pursuit of knowledge, he says, to put an end to the spirit of inquiry that has characterized the West, it is not necessary to burn the books. All we have to do is leave them unread for a few generations. And of course, there's a story behind this individual and his writings. And what he's saying in short is that what led to the rise of what we know as the West today is the inquisitive nature of those who studied, who learnt, who produced, and who led to the building of what we are currently living in today. He's saying in order to put an end to the spirit of inquiry that led to the birth of what we know as the modern Western world, you do not have to burn the books. You have to simply what? Put away the minds for a few generations. Put the books on the shelf and don't look to the books. And if you look throughout history, there is a clear correlation between the rise of powerful nations or civilizations and knowledge. Knowledge leads to the rise of man. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that. And knowledge, in order to acquire knowledge, I have to receive and seek out an education. And this, unfortunately, is a term which we have misunderstood in our time. Many of our young men are turning away from the institutions of education because they see the point of education as simply a means of earning a career, a way of working myself into a position which will give me financial gain, financial stability, status, and so on and so forth. And that has never been the purpose of education up until perhaps this modern society that we live in today. The purpose of education has always been about mastery of the self, development of the mind, development of the heart, development of the tongue. And that's what the Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. The Prophet ﷺ is telling us about ilm, فضل العالم على العابد, and so on and so forth. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructs the Prophet ﷺ to ask for an increase in one thing in the Quran. And in doing so, instructs us as well. What's that one thing? قُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say in the Quran to his Prophet and then to us, قُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي رِزْقًا. قُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي حَيَاةً. No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا. Say, Oh Allah, increase me in knowledge. What's the purpose of knowledge? إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Knowledge does not have a relationship in and of itself to financial acquirement, gain, and so on and so forth. And if you look to our history, you will find some of the best of our scholars and our thinkers and our intellectual champions of Islam were impoverished. They lived lives of poverty. And it's from the problems of our current society that we are living in that we perceive knowledge to be a means of simply gaining finance, career. And this individual that I quoted, Robert Hutchins, he says, what will a person do then when he seeks an education for the sake of career and he achieves that career and that career takes him to the end point of his goal, i.e. financial stability? He doesn't know what to do with himself anymore. Why? Because he has not been educated in how to be a man, how to be a woman, how to be a human, a good human. And so he wastes his mind, he wastes his life, he wastes his time in seeking things which are not befitting of man himself. And that's what we've arrived to today, where we have whole societies that they have the financial stability and luxury to do great things, but instead they waste hours watching videos of other humans acting like fools on social media platforms, consuming irrelevant material on TV and so on and so forth, wasting their money on consumption because we have not been educated in how to be good humans. And that was the mission of the Prophet ﷺ. إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. How to be a good human. And the first point in being a good human is to be a good slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the first point. That's the starting point. And so we have to revive the inquisitiveness that we had prior to the beginning of the modern West. The inquisitiveness that started in the West was a gift given by the Muslims. And that's another story for another time. But we have to think about relighting, rekindling the fire of inquisitiveness that once defined us, as we are the nation of read. Ummat Iqra. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make that the case. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد وارض اللهم عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن عثمان وعن علي وعن سائر الصحابة أجمعين اللهم اجعلنا من المتعلمين لك يا رب العالمين اللهم اجعلنا من أصحاب الأخلاق النبوية يا مجيب الدعوات اللهم ارزقنا الإخلاص اللهم اجعلنا من المخلصين وانصر الإسلام في كل مكان يا رب العالمين واجعلنا من الناصرين لك يا مجيب الدعوات وأقم الصلاة.